So, here we go.
It was filled with childish frustrations and complexes. The police were searching for James Thomas.
Hello. You're listening to Midnight Movie Gang. It is currently 8:47 p.m. Night Movie Gang. For those of you just tuning in, my name is LC Hines. I'm here with my buddy Joseph.
Hello.
And my buddy Deep T.
Hello.
Hi. And today, so for those of you, if this is your first episode, this is episode 56. I would hope you would listen to some stuff already.
Yeah, asshole.
Fucking dicks. This is a show where we primarily talk about kind of cult and genre cinema, like lesser known stuff. We primarily focus on horror and sci-fi. I'd say these movies kind of fall into like the kind of cult classic categories.
Yeah.
Like lesser, of Robert Rodriguez. People know Robert Rodriguez. He's a Spy Kids guy.
Yeah, you guys have seen Spy Kids, right?
You've all seen Shark Boy and Lava Girl. These are, I guess, movies that people who might know his name nowadays don't necessarily associate with him, especially the first and last movie in this trilogy. Like of the three, Desperado's the most successful, most well known, most critically acclaimed.
Yeah,
and we'll get into reasons
and the best,
and the best in our opinion. I haven't heard Deep T's opinion yet, but I guess we'll just get started with talking about our. I want to ask y'all your histories. What's Deep D and Joseph? What y'all's histories with Robert Rodriguez? Had you seen these films? Like your relationship to these films? What's your history with them? Deep D, I want to start with you since we have not talked about these movies at all yet with you.
I'd love to share. So, to my recollection, I think my first encounter with Robert Rodriguez, I mean, technically it was like those 20 reruns they used to do of Spy Kids 3D on Disney Channel, which I probably caught 3 minutes at a time at some point. But after that, I watched the Spy Kids trilogy in college while I was trying to study, and then I ended up just watching the Spy Kids trilogy. And then a few years after that, I watched El Mariachi and Desperado. And then a few years after that, I watched Desperado again. And I hadn't seen Once Upon a Time in Mexico till now, but that's my experience with him. I love Desperado. I think it's awesome, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, I think we can all agree Desperado rips pretty fucking hard.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Universally. Yeah, Joseph, what about you, my man?
I saw Spy Kids 3 a bunch as a kid, and then I saw Sin City, and I think that was my Robert Rodriguez experience for the longest time. I've probably seen a couple other of his movies without even realizing it. I saw Grindhouse. You
haven't seen his masterpiece, Alita Battle Angel?
No, I think I was scared off from that a little bit. And now I've watched all three of these movies in order, and tonight we watched the last one, and I'm sorely disappointed and angry at the world
after watching that one. Yeah. I was not a fan either. But just briefly, my history of Rodriguez. Yeah, I was a Spy Kids boy, for sure. When I was a kid, my favorite one was the third one because it was video game stuff.
Yeah,
and I was a gamer kid. But as I've grown older and more mature, I will say Isle of Lost Dreams is the best of that trilogy.
Steve Buscemi.
Giving an Oscar-winning performance, making me question my life. Yeah. This whole frame, it's funny. I remember, I think the first time I saw Desperado when I was a little bit older. So Desperado was the only one that I had seen until we watched the movies for this episode. It's was one of my mom's favorite movies growing up, and she showed it to me around when I was in middle school or whatever. And I remember thinking wow, all the Spy Kids people in this movie doing all this naughty stuff.
Doing R-rated stuff.
Yeah, and I grew up watching this Desperado. I learned pretty quickly that it was a kind of sequel to El Mariachi, and that there was another movie, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. And yeah, I hadn't watched them till now. I had always wanted to. This episode was pretty much triggered by me buying the Arrow 3 movie 4K box set that just released recently on sale. And I was like, oh, I bought this. Let's talk about them. And yeah, no, grew up loving Desperado. As far as Robert Rodriguez's other stuff, I mean, I still haven't seen Sin City.
Whoa.
Unfortunately. Let's look at his filmography real quick. What else?
I did fail to mention that I'd also seen the fourth Spy Kids film, Spy Kids All the Time in the World from
What?
2011. So
Yeah, that's the movie with
Full disclosure.
Smell-O-Vision.
That exists?
Yeah, there's a fifth Spy Kids movie, bro.
No way.
Yeah, it just came out like recently.
Not my Spy Kids.
Hashtag not my Spy Kids. I have a distinct memory of All the Time in the World. I think I went with my little cousin to see it in theaters, and it was a big deal. The movie was in Smell-O-Vision,
Ew.
and like basically when
Did you get like a scratch and sniff card or something?
you got like a little scratch and sniff card with a bunch of little spots, and like when you see the number pop on screen, you scratch. And I have a distinct memory of there's a scene where a baby's diaper is being changed, and somebody like sniffs the diaper.
And you're like, why would I scratch and sniff that?
Exactly.
This is like a strange moment in American culture that I think is all but forgotten. But there's an episode of My Name Is Earl that did the same thing.
That had a Smell-O-Vision.
Yeah, you could get like the card from like some magazine or something, and I think I'm the one person in the world who remembers that.
Or were they trying to make you smell?
Ah, man, like someone's breath at one point or something like that. Like I don't know. It was like a gimmick for the episode. It was like a multiple things. I was a child, but I remember it very vividly, being upset that I didn't have one of those. But they flash like the number on the screen at certain times in the episode.
Damn. And we'll never know what that smell
No.
truly was.
Nope.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I'd say, yeah, big fan. Oh, I also, another important one, I hadn't seen From Dusk Till Dawn until very recently.
Crazy.
Until about last
Yeah,
week.
I really like that movie.
Yeah. Because I explained this to Joseph the other day, but like, I in my head confused The Lost Boys, 30 Days of Night, and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
In my head.
Wild.
Like, they're all kind of like lowish budget, like 90s vampire movies. So like in my head, it just they got mixed up. But From Dusk Till Dawn, I also really like. But yeah. So let's kind of just break into like talk about the first movie, in this trilogy. Yeah. So El Mariachi, which was Robert Rodriguez's first feature, filmed for whopping at the time reported $7,225, which is the equivalent of around $15,000 today. Yeah, he made this movie with like basically no crew.
Yeah.
When he did need like other people behind the camera, like his actors just helped him with stuff.
It's a crazy achievement, this movie.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't necessarily know if we super need like a scene by scene breakdown as far as it goes. I mean, it opens up with
We got 3 movies to go through.
yeah. This as far as the plot goes is pretty simple. I mean, it opens up with the mariachi kind of like wandering into this town. Very you see the Western inspirations a lot, and I think Rodriguez talks about this a lot. Like, he was inspired by the Dollars trilogy, and A Stranger Rolls into Town. He gets a nice coconut drink and just kind of
It's just a straight up coconut.
and just kind of wanders in. And I wanted to ask you guys, what's your take on the the opening of this movie, how it introduces the characters? Did you like the narration? Like, the vibes so far of like the first bit of this movie? How did it make you feel? Deepti, I want to hear from you first.
So, like, relative to the other films, like, I don't think I like El Mariachi as much. I will say it's admirable from a technical perspective, which might be a separate conversation. But in terms of tone, I will say I kind of like how much more, I guess, pathetic the protagonist of El Mariachi is. Because, like, in Desperado and Once Upon a Time, you got, like, very badass, cool, like, epic fantasy characters, and then like in El Mariachi he's like, this is the worst day of my life, like everything's going so bad for me, no one wants to hire me. And I kind of like that sort of downtrodden vibe. It kind of, I guess, humanizes the whole thing, and I guess it is kind of in line with the whole I guess renegade low budget filmmaking that Rodriguez is doing himself.
Yeah, he's very much just a dude.
Yeah,
And-
he's just an unlucky guy.
Yeah, and it is the most grounded of the three, you could call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like, what do you think about how this movie kind of introduced its world? And so I feel like, speaking to the whole grounded thing, I just wanted to say, I mean, early on, you still get moments of like, there's still a lot of Robert Rodriguez's kind of goofy humor
Yeah.
that pokes in through there. Like, I remember early on, I really like the scene where he goes to the first bar, which is the bar from Desperado, and he's asking for work, and the dude's like, "No, we already got a band." And it's the
It's
dude
just
with
the guy with the keyboard.
with the keyboard doing
So
the jams.
That is an extended joke.
Yeah, it's real goofy.
Yeah, no, I like the vibe of this movie a lot. I think it's I think because it's so low budget that he had to just go film just like real people in places, and he these aren't sets and you can't really light them differently. It feels super genuine. It feels, I don't know, it feels like I'm really there. I think also, considering the fact that everyone here is an amateur, it feels super well performed, and I like the writing too. You know, and I like the fact that he's not a badass. He's just like a singer who's out of work
Yeah.
for most of this movie.
Who just kind of falls in the situation.
Yeah.
Speaking to the whole performances thing, it's interesting you brought that up, because I was watching all the behind the scenes on the Blu-ray for this, and something Robert Rodriguez talks about with the performances, and I agree. Like, it is kind of weird how, I was impressed by how naturalistic a lot of the performances. I mean, no one's giving an Oscar-worthy performance, but
No, well, yeah.
I think that most of the people in this movie don't feel like super wooden. Like, they feel like they fit in the world. Especially, I think the villain. If I had to say, I think the villain character to me felt the strongest.
Yeah.
As far performance-wise, but a lot of that just came to, according to Robert Rodriguez, the reason why is because, like, nobody was kind of taking it seriously when he was filming, because it was because when they were filming, like, they didn't have a crew. It didn't feel like filming a movie because it was just him with the
Just
camera.
hanging out.
Yeah, they were all just like hanging out, and it was just kind of a thing like, oh yeah, I'm just helping my buddy with his movie or whatever, and like no one was thinking that it was going to lead to, you know, this
Yeah.
huge franchise and like be this kind of like pillar in low budget filmmaking that it is. You
Yeah.
know? So he talks about how, as an example, the guy that plays the villain, I forget the character, Mucho, what's the fuck is that character's name? The guy that plays the villain in this first movie, Moko. Yeah, Peter McQuart?
Mauricio.
Yeah, Mauricio. They bring him back briefly in the opening of Desperado.
Yeah.
In the little dream
Little
sequence.
flashback, yeah.
In the club. And in that scene, you can see when he brings a cigarette to his mouth, his hand is shaking. And Robert Rodriguez was talking about how, like, yeah, he was really nervous that day because he's not an actor.
Because he's in a real movie now.
Yeah, he's in a real movie now. And it's like, you know, he didn't get that natural performance like he did with El Mariachi, because, like, yeah, it's like it was so far removed from the normal or the Hollywood filmmaking process that they were able to get those kind of things. And I think that's really cool.
Me too.
I remember reading that he met the guy that plays the villain, like, because part of the way he funded the films was like going to a bunch of what do you call them?
The drug testing.
Yeah, and like he met that guy at like one of those drug testing trials, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be in my movie?" Which I think is so like, imagine you go to one of those trials and this guy's like, "Yeah, I'm making a movie. Do you want to be in it?" Like, that's such
Hell
a
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you'd find a lot of interesting people who can play
Just people down on their luck. People need extra money.
characters. Yeah, I mean, there was and I feel like you hear a lot of the story of in Mariachi and in Desperado. I've seen a lot of interviews where Robert Rodriguez talks about how on Desperado, when he needed side characters and extras and things and like little, you know, little characters on the side, he would like look at people in his crew and be like, oh, that person has an interesting look, or that guy's got a unique personality.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, you want to be in it, you know? And like, I like that. How do I put it? Like, I feel like in these early movies of his, you can, and it's something that I feel like other directors at the time were kind of known for in like the 90s era. Like, you look, I mean, very different kinds of filmmakers, but like Kevin Smith and Tarantino of the time.
Yeah.
Really just doing a good job at using what resources they have.
Yeah.
And like really just using everything that's available to them because they don't have much.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I like constrained Robert Rodriguez better, personally.
Not when he made his Spy Kids money.
Yeah, no, I don't like when he has disposable money. I like him working within very strict like limitations. I think that's when he really shines for me.
Yeah. So in this movie, a scene that was I skipped over talking about. This movie opens up with the prison sequence.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. And not talking about that sequence in particular, but we can talk about that combined with the kind of first scene where Azul rolls into the bar and kills the gangsters. We kind of get like our first little action sequences. And generally, I kind of want to just talk about how y'all feel about the action in this movie in general and how it's edited and the energy of it. And in those, there's a lot of like little scenes where like anytime there's gunfire, I feel like he's pretty creative when it comes to like how he decides to when he does show and doesn't show action. Like I distinctly remember I thought it was a cool decision. Like the first scene in the prison where like you see all these gangsters are about to gun down this like one prisoner there, I forget the exact situation.
Yeah.
You see them get all the guns ready, and then when they're about to shoot him, they cut back to the boss over the phone, and you hear all the gunfire going over the phone. And I thought that was a really smart way to like, oh
Thrifty.
yeah, you don't have the budget to show like all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, so like, and doing that like still gives it like a nice sense of like, you know, you can put it together in your head type of deal, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that was really smart. But yeah, there's like other action sequences too, like the bus stunt was really
hit with a bus.
It's a real famous one. And just in general, how do y'all feel about like the action in this movie?
Deep, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, like, especially I feel like on the second watch, I was able to appreciate the sort of like low budget like wizardry that he's able to accomplish more than the first time. I guess because I'm older and wiser now, but I feel like what really struck me was that like obviously the way it's shot is very like high energy, but a lot of that comes through in the editing, which I think is really impressive, especially because like if I'm not mistaken, there's like a big gap between like when he initially shot it and then when he was able to like actually sell the film and then actually get it cut.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of that energy still comes through, which is very impressive on his part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talking about the editing process of this movie, it just reminded me. I want to try to recall this correctly because I may be, for those of you listening out there who might be like big Rodriguez stands, I just learned about all this stuff like last week, looking at these like featurettes and like reading stuff. So forgive me if I got details wrong, but from what I understand with how he edited this movie, like the initial cut of the movie that he sold that he was trying to sell studios, he shot it on 16mm film on a borrowed camera. And then he couldn't afford to like rent a what's it called, like the machine, like the film editing machine.
Yeah. And
not only could he not afford that, but like it's also really a time consuming process to edit film, you know, in that traditional way. And at this time, we were starting to see kind of the first elements of like digital film digital editing,
right?
Not necessarily for like big movies yet, but like for kind of personal like digital, you know, photography and filmography. And it's a lot quicker, and you know, editing on a computer is much quicker even at that time.
Yeah. So
what he did was he got a projector and projected all of the raw footage that he had of El Mariachi onto a wall, and then he took a camcorder and recorded like digitally, like literally recorded the projection on the wall. He edited that version of the movie on his computer, and then instead of having to use the big machine, he basically was able to take the film out and just match all the shots to his like digital version, like
it's so nuts,
digital bootleg version of the movie that he made, and that was the cut that he sold to studios. Now later, if I remember correctly, I think looking at Wikipedia, it says post-production budget was $200,000. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that was just like once he did sell to the studio, they kind of like gave him the toys to like do an actual like real edit, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Made like a real like final cut of the movie, and Robert Rodriguez said that it was mostly pretty much the same thing that he cut. Like it was.
I don't know how different it would be if it's frame for frame.
He said the only scene that really changed or like was that benefited from that process was you remember the dream sequence, the dream sequence where he keeps seeing the kid with the basketball?
Yeah.
He was able to sync up the music in that scene to that kid dribbling the basketball much better when he actually was given the tools that he needed.
That's great.
Apparently, like it didn't work at all in his initial cut, but he was able to actually get that right. And he said aside from that, it was pretty much the same. So yeah, just impressive, cool. Yeah, I feel like as far as like this definitely is a movie where like it's hard for me to judge it by itself, just like as a movie, because I feel like I'm just mesmerized by the the technical impressiveness of it.
Yeah.
Like it definitely punches way above its weight. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like somebody had said that this was like a shitty $1 million or $2 million movie. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I like the general concept of like an origin story for like a folk hero.
Yeah.
It's almost like a samurai movie or something. Like,
yeah,
it's like he rolls into town and just some unlucky shit happens to him, and he comes out of it like this person people tell stories about. I think that's just cool.
Yeah. I wanted to ask y'all what you thought about it's kind of like one of the final aspects. How did y'all feel about some of the characters in this movie in general? We haven't talked about his love interest in the movie yet, or we can go into more in some of the villain characters, some of the side bits. Were there any standout characters for y'all, and how did y'all feel about the love story in here? Did you buy
The
it?
turtle was badass.
Who was badass?
That turtle kicks ass.
Oh yeah, that turtle was a bad motherfucker.
I honestly, I bought a lot of the characters just like very easily. It might be the fact that I don't speak English, or well, I do speak English, as you can. But
Do you?
That's kind of a little bit. It might be the fact I don't speak Spanish, but I thought the performances were pretty solid. I liked. I thought the love story was well told. I thought their relationship was fun. I liked Azul. I thought he was kind of a funny character of like this like super stoic cartel guy who has like a kind of an internal code, and he's not all bad, but he's not a good guy, and he's not as bad as the bad guy. And I think that hierarchy is really well told.
There's a good rule of 3 joke with him.
Yeah.
With his beer every time he wanted.
Yeah, he pays for it.
And he wanted a beer in the bottle, yeah.
Exactly. No, I like the characters.
Yeah. Deep T?
I mean, not a lot of standouts there, but I do agree that I did kind of enjoy the romance. I think like any movie where like you have like a well-established romance and then like they end up not getting together is always going to be endearing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do the real way. Do the pain, loss of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's way more interesting.
This movie's a lot like real life, you know.
It sucks.
It sucks. Yeah. There's no, this movie I was surprised by. Even speaking of kind of how it ends, or at least I want to talk. Yeah, I liked the love story in here. I thought they had good chemistry.
Yeah.
In there, the bathtub scene was really funny.
Yeah.
And like how they kind of like established like trust with each other, and he had to sing his way to not getting his nuts cut off. But yeah, in terms of kind of like how it ended up, yeah, like I feel like this watching this and then immediately like me and Joseph, like we watched this and then we watched Desperado directly after, and this movie helped me made me appreciate the character of the mariachi a lot more.
Yeah.
In terms of like just having a much clearer sense of like what his what is it, where his pain comes from, I guess.
Yeah.
Not even just like with the actual love story of like, you know, this woman that he was, you know, getting these feelings for, but also like I don't know why I didn't really put it together, but like the fact that they shot his hand so he can't really play guitar anymore. Like, you know, even and because this movie is so focused around like all he wants to do is just be a musician,
and he can never have that.
and now there's this physical barrier to it, and that's a part of the tragedy with his character later on. And I really liked where this movie ended, and I feel like this movie set up a really good springboard for the next one.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate the next one more.
I think it's just like a really solid, tight story. I don't know. I like how like focused it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess as far as like overall thoughts go, I don't know. Deepti, what'd you give this movie on Letterboxd?
I didn't give it a like this time, but I was at least able to appreciate it more. I think if I was still ranking them, I'd give it I want to say 3.5, but that doesn't feel fair to like the work he's putting in here. Like, I'm not filming guys jumping onto the bus, so like, how can I judge him? You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and like, no, it seems like you like it less than me, Joseph. But that's totally. I'm not shitting on your opinion at all.
I am.
I do.
I take personal offense.
Yeah, I do think it's hard for me to be. I guess if I was gonna be unbiased, as far as like, it is kind of like a very basic like action kind of, not really a revenge story, like a fish out of water, I guess.
Yeah, the context does do a lot of heavy lifting. Yeah, no, like anything that this movie throws at me that would be like in a bigger movie would bother me. I keep coming back to like, I couldn't do it with $7,000. Yeah, like
I couldn't fucking do that. So impressive movie. Let's talk about Desperado.
Yay.
Steve Buscemi
Desperado.
in this opening.
I love Steve Buscemi. I think I've never seen Steve Buscemi in a movie and not liked him.
Yeah. Steve Buscemi, Cheech Marin in this opening. A lot of Spy Kids alums in this film. That's the immediate thing I remember. The first time I saw this movie, I'm like, wow, so many all the uncles from Spy Kids, uncles and dads. So this movie opens up with immediately we can tell Robert Rodriguez got a lot more money. And actually, before we get into the opening, I want to talk a little bit about how this movie kind of got made. So basically, it was kind of like an immediate response to how well Mariachi was received. Yeah, like kind of like in the it was just a bigger hit than people thought. Like studios really liked it, and they wanted him to make. Originally, the studio, from what I understand, which I think this was Miramax this time around. If I don't want to get that wrong. But the studio this time around wanted Desperado to be a straight up remake. Of El Mariachi. Like, we're just gonna give you real money to make
make this movie for real this time.
It was Sony did Desperado. But Robert Rodriguez was pretty insistent on it being a sequel, although you can definitely say, like, structurally speaking, there's a lot of the same ideas going on. Yeah. But they just kind of swap out some things, like instead of ending up in this woman's bar, it's a library, and there's things are tweaked. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it really does a good job at being both, honestly. I like that we watched them back to back. I think that they complement each other really well. Yeah. I definitely think that probably something to talk about at the end, but I guess we'll talk about it now. I really think this movie does it does both. Like, it stands on its own really well. Yeah. The beginning gives you pretty much like a little recap of the original. Yeah, enough. He's got a tragic backstory. Yeah. That's it. They recreated the scene at the end of the first one where the love interest gets killed and he gets his hand shot, but it's Antonio Banderas this time. Yeah. That's probably a big thing too, is that the actor in the original movie, which I want to say, I want to respect him because I liked him in the first movie. Carlos Gallardo. There's R-D-O. But yeah, that Carl. Sorry, what was that, DPT?
No, I think it's a ya for a double L.
Gallardo.
Tortilla.
Giardo.
Jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
Jalapeno. Yeah, Carlos. Carlos was good in that first movie, but he's not as hot as Antonio Banderas.
Shout out to my homie Carlos.
And they did bring him back for Desperado as one of his mariachi buddies.
Yeah.
So he
looks like a completely different person.
He does. He aged a lot in those 3 years. I also didn't think that he was taller than Antonio Banderas because, like, in my head, he was a short king, but he's like 6'1", apparently.
Oh my god, and tons of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So Desperado. We get basically a little recreation recap at the end of the last movie. Then we get this opening with Steve Buscemi where he rolls up into this bar that we're going to return to later.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells this story to the bartender and all the patrons of this bar in his Steve Buscemi way about, quote, the biggest fucking Mexican I've ever seen.
He's being like this like dorky white guy, like tourist.
Not real class acts like you guys in this bar here.
Yeah, he's like clearly like playing a character, trying to like just get all their attention and yeah, it's great. And
we see visually his story kind of unfolding in like kind of like a dream sequence, exaggerated kind of thing, and
fun action movie.
Yeah, it's
stylized.
really stylized. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really stylish, and how do we feel about this this opening and how we're reintroduced to this world?
I'm a so badass, dude. I can't even.
Yeah, Deep, you go ahead first.
Yeah.
No, I mean like, because I think we talked about how like the first film has a much more, I guess, like beaten down, like sad tone to it, and then like you get to this film and it is kind of like imagine you make like a $7,000 film and then Hollywood comes up to you and is like, okay, you get like $1 million, go nuts, like you're gonna put up like the coolest thing you can ever think of.
Yeah, 7,000 to 7 million.
Yeah,
the tone's gonna shift a little bit.
literally 1,000 times more. But make 1,000 El Mariachi.
Yeah, no, I think it's the same bar from El Mariachi. It's just lit like a Hollywood movie now, so it looks a completely different place.
It's lit like a movie.
The bar that shows up in the flashback with Antonio Banderas, I know that's like, I just remember seeing that and being like, there's like a neon sign above the door and like the walls are covered in antlers, and I'm like, that's such like, you have so much production design money now, you're gonna go ham, you know?
Yeah, he's like showing like, check this out, guys, I have money.
Yeah, no, it does go hard. The neon sign, Brewer was saying, it says the customer is always wrong.
Yeah.
That might be my prop. I don't know, there are a lot of props I don't want to show. Just dripping with style. Joseph, what do you think of the opening?
I think it's great. I think it sets the tone really well. It's like this is going to be like I think it just it lets you know exactly what kind of movie this is going to be. Like this is like the heightened version of what you can expect, essentially.
Yeah. Overall, this opening definitely I really like how it kind of builds up the mystic, like you were talking about with the folk hero thing, the mystic figure that the mariachi has kind of become.
Yeah.
In that, like, how you don't really see Antonio Banderas' face.
No, yeah. And they make a point to say you don't see his face.
Exactly. It's like the shadows moved for him. Whatever. And then finally the shot where, and I'm a sucker for this. This is like a very specific thing. I mean, I love like a close-up intense eye shot in a movie when Cheech asks, like, you saw his face, his eyes, and then it shows you that close. It reminds me of my favorite my favorite close-up eye shot in any movie is in Fist of Fury. Bruce Lee during that fight scene, they like do a super zoom in on his eyes and he's looking left and
Samurai Jack.
Yeah, the Samurai Jack scowl. Just, I'm a sucker for that anytime I do that in a movie. Really, really great opening scene. And then we get introduced to the actual mariachi doing his thing. Antonio Banderas is waiting in a hotel room.
I like the depth of his personality in this. Like, he is like a badass gunslinger, but he's also kind of like got that like Jackie Chan bumbling thing to him.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
and he's kind of funny, but he's also like down on his luck. I don't know. There's a lot of facets to him that you don't really see, especially not in the movie after this.
Mm-hmm.
I super agree with that. Like, he's definitely more badass than the guy from El Mariachi, but like, I like that, you know, he takes a hit, he like goes down, you know, like he's very much, you know, vulnerable as a person, which I appreciate.
Yeah, to me that's like one of the highlights of this movie.
Yeah, he takes a hit, he gets hurt, he gets tired, and yeah, like you said, he does have like a little bit of that bumbling Jackie Chan energy, like when Salma Hayek later on is which, oh boy, we're gonna when we get to Salma Hayek, Salma Hayek later on, when she's like patching him up on the table and like she's like pouring alcohol on his shit, and he's like, that hurts.
Ow! Yeah,
you know, and he's kind of like, that is like very much that and I feel like Antonio Banderas, at least in what I see him in, has always had that kind of thing where like he's funny, like he
is
in Zorro, you know, like he's got good comedy. That's, you know, he's Puss in Boots, you know. And I feel like even this is a weird movie to pull in my head. He's in Expendables 3.
Okay.
I don't know if he came back for 4 or didn't they make? I forget if they made 5. But I've seen 1 through 3. He's the best part of Expendables 3 because like everyone's taking the movie so fucking seriously, but he comes in and he's just like goofy. So yeah, that's a good point. The thing about it, he's known for this badass, but he's funny. Steve Buscemi rolls in, and then let's see. And then the mariachi goes to the bar. They find out that Bucho's there because the whole reason Steve Buscemi went there was to find out where Bucho is, who
the
big bad, who basically they don't directly tell you in the movie, but it seems like Bucho is the boss of the boss in the last movie.
Yeah.
At first, I was kind of confused. Like, are they saying that it's the same guy, and like maybe he didn't get killed in this version? But I feel like they make it clear, like Bucho's the bigger boss. Before we get to the shootout scene where Antonio Banderas goes into the bar, it doesn't say it here. I don't think it says it here on Wikipedia, but we get the Quentin Tarantino scene.
Oh yeah, Quentin Tarantino as himself.
Rolls in. The man, and he tells a joke, which straight up just feels like a scene ripped out of a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I think I was like, this is exactly the guy you cast to be the annoying asshole who's telling you a really long joke that is a really obnoxious ending.
I thought it was a really funny joke.
It is funny. It was definitely, it had to have been written for him. Because that's just how he talks.
He probably just came in with it. He's pissing on the walls, pissing on the bar. Deepti, how do you feel about the Tarantino scene in this movie?
It's probably a funny joke. It's just like I get so irritated when I see Tarantino on screen, just on principle, that like.
That's exactly what I was saying while we were watching it. I was like, man, I am just irritated. Like, I like his movies a lot. I just find him such an annoying person.
So, I've heard that he like, not to dunk on his character as a person, but I've heard that like if you find him like in a movie theater, he's just like talking for the entire movie, which is like,
I can imagine that,
dude. I bet.
Oh, I'd be so mad.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, no, that's valid shit. Probably laughing like super obnoxiously and longer than everybody else.
Yeah, no, he always strikes me as the smartest guy in the world who always has the most to say. He's just kind of cocaine just personified, isn't he?
Yeah.
Exactly it.
Yeah. But no, this scene, when I don't know, when I was like 13, I thought it was really funny.
It is. I mean, the joke is funny.
I like how it ends with Cheech shooting the guy next to him. And he just sits in there with a mouthful of beer, like, it
is funny. Robert Rodriguez knows him personally, and they're friends. So he's like, who am I? Like, I want a scene with like an annoying asshole, Quentin.
Yeah. I feel like something I'm thinking about with this movie, and I realize, especially after watching Once Upon a Time Mexico, this movie's paced really well.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of it's like a shorter movie. I think it's about a little over an hour and a half. It's an hour and 5 minutes, so hour 45. Is my math right? Yes, hour 45. It doesn't feel too fast. Like there's enough downtime to like get comfortable with the characters and like get to know people. Like once, I feel like the biggest lull in the movie is like in the middle when we're with Antonio and Selma in the library, and like they're getting to know each other. It's still like it's moving because we're like getting to know these characters more and like seeing them interact and like like each other. And
They're
stuff.
great together.
Yeah, they have wonderful
Oh,
chemistry. Yeah. It's Puss and Kitty Softpaws.
Okay.
From Puss in Boots.
No, I know. I just wanted to make it seem like I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, no, and just like leading every scene, kind of like we're learning more about the world and like the villain, and just it just moves along nice.
Yeah, I like.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like, and this is something that might come up more once we get to Once Upon a Time in Mexico, I feel like in terms of plot and like pacing of the plot, that's not really his strongest suit.
Mm-hmm.
But in Desperado, I think it knows to focus on like this really strong ensemble cast and like the the interactions between them. It very much knows how to follow the vibe. So like even if it's not like a super tense film, you can enjoy the experience of it.
Absolutely.
I feel like Rodriguez is a pretty good like actor's director in that like he seems like he knows
loves his stars.
He loves his stars, but he also knows how to like bring what is unique out of like people in his movies that aren't necessarily his stars. Like there are like a lot of little side characters I feel like have like little unique moments and are memorable to me. Like I like the what is it, the I forget his name. I think he's a white dude with a big hat and a mustache in this movie. One of his goons. Yeah. One of the goons. Just I don't know. Just like
the guy with the cowboy hat.
Yeah, the cowboy hat guy who's like constantly trying to like avoid responsibility.
Exactly. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what the phone number is, boss. There's a lot of little things like that. But yeah. So the next scene, the mariachi. He's sitting outside the bar, and a kid tries to look in his guitar case. And mariachi basically tells him to fuck off, and then the kid like wants to the mariachi teaches him like a little guitar lesson basically.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little scene, and it's a scene that I always I don't know, I have an appreciation for this scene after watching Mariachi that I guess I just didn't hit me as much before.
Yeah.
In terms of like when he's going through the thing and he's like, practice this every day.
Yeah.
All day, and he's playing the sad tune,
and he's like clearly in pain.
Yeah, and he's clearly in pain while he's doing it, thinking about everything he's lost and like all the stuff. And it's just, I don't know. For me, it just the angst hits harder for me.
Yeah. After
watching El Mariachi, I always like
the smolder there.
Yeah, it's a little. They bring back the motif of that, which by the way, that little tune, all it is like. All it is just like three chords played over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like a really like, and I understand
it's practicing.
Yeah, like as a guitar player, like it is like just a little practice like diddle. Mm-hmm. It's not really a song. But and in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, they return to that as if it's like his theme music.
The shitting on that movie is leaking into the talk about this movie.
I know. But it's like, and I'm like, why are you overusing this? This isn't like his theme. It's just like a little like practice. Anyway.
What is it? Isn't that the band, was it Los Lobos?
Los Lobos did the music for this movie, and I believe they did. They also did the music for From Dusk Till Dawn.
Also, fun fact, the cinematographer for, or the DP for Desperado, same DP as Twilight Breaking Dawn's Part 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, this dude has a crazy filmography.
As well as a million other really famous movies, but I just think that's the funniest connection.
Yeah, he did Spawn, Stuart Little, Spy Kids, Hellboy, Hellboy 2.
Yeah, a lot of Del Toro movies, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, Pacific Rim, that makes sense.
But most importantly, Breaking Dawn Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, those movies had good action sequences. But yeah, like does that little scene with the kid, and then we get just the coolest shootout, the scene that everybody looks up on YouTube of this movie.
Honestly, having never seen this movie, looking back at it, that's the scene that like when I think Desperado, that's what I think of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it in my opinion. So it's like just such a nice build up as well, because like basically he walks in everyone in the bar had like heard of a dude with a guitar case full of guns, and it's just the music is kind of getting louder and louder in the background.
Yeah.
It's like building up, and then once it finally does go off, we get some of that goofiness of him trying to calm down, like, okay, it is me, but calm down. And then he pulls the taxi driver, and the guns come out of his cuffs, and it's just so cool. And,
Dual wields, man.
let's just talk about just cool shit in this scene. What do you like? What do you like about this scene?
Oh my god, the bit where they like slide towards each other on the bar counter and they shoot at each other, but they're both out of cartridges. Just
Hell yeah.
pure cinema.
Oh, just so good. And Antonio Banderas is like, oh,
Kino.
yeah.
It's like he plays it like a Looney Tunes bit. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think the timing, especially in that end bit of this scene, is
picking up the guns.
Yeah, they're picking up the guns, trying to find one that's not out of bullets.
Yeah.
Just it's primal, really. Like, and it's all done with body language too.
And it's really funny.
it is really funny.
That whole scene's really funny.
And they destroy the fuck out of that bar.
Hell yeah. As they should.
Yeah. And as how do I put this? I'm a big fan of a movie that shows the hero reloading because he reloads his gun several times in this scene.
He's dual wielding. He's Max Payne before Max Payne.
I definitely feel like John Wick took notes from this, as far as like even kind of looks like John Wick with the hair. And I was looking at a review of this movie. Somebody called this Juan Wick.
That's not bad.
That's a great part. They destroy the bar. There's so much just like shattered glass and like wood blasting off in there, little particulates. It kind of reminded me of this scene of all the ones in this movie. There's a little bit of like the shootout scene from Hard Boiled in here.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. Like, it's very John Woo. Like.
Yeah, Deepti, I was about to ask if you had seen Hard Boiled.
Yeah. I guess I've seen it twice now, but yeah, it's very much that like gun fu, like massive carnage, like completely destroying the set kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, we need a crossover between the mariachi tequila from Hard Boiled and John Wick to all have a gun fu off.
Hell yeah.
And then Desperado takes John Wick's face off.
Oh, they do a 3-way face off with all those characters.
I also want the guy from Equilibrium in there too.
Christian Bale from Equilibrium.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Just all of them.
For the 2 cool scenes in that movie.
Yeah. So yeah, great shootout. Oh, I also, something else I appreciate is that we just a little detail that we were talking about is always fun. I like how. So in the first, we didn't even mention this when we were talking about El Mariachi. In the first movie, he's got this guitar case full of guns, and it literally just isn't
kind of his whole thing.
It literally just is an empty guitar case. But in this one, there's a little guitar, false guitar top.
Yeah, that opens automatically for some reason. So if someone opens it and sees, oh, it's just a guitar, 5 seconds later, it will reveal that no, there are in fact guns.
Yeah. And it just goes to show that, like, wow, that means that there's been situations where, like, the guitar cases had to be checked, and he had to go, like, man, we have to find a solution to this. I think I want that as my prop, and then, like, but instead of putting guns in there, I just put weed. Just a big weed case. Actually, or maybe like a little one, like a little like tabletop sized one. That'd be fun.
Just the plot of El Mariachi, but instead of like a guitarist and a guy with a bunch of guns, it's a guy with a bunch of guns and a guy with a bunch of weed.
Oh yeah, no, it's like a mobile shop. Like he's got like all sorts of different baggies and all sorts of little like.
You get that case and then you open it and then the false guitar opens and there's a ukulele in there.
And then there's another guitar. And it's just a Russian doll.
Oh, this is pointless.
Yeah. But yeah, after the amazing shootout sequence in this bar, I really like how the music editing in this is just incredible because like this song from Los Lobos starts during this shootout and it accentuates out into the street.
Yeah, and
this street scene, which
it's great when you get people who do music professionally to make music for your movie.
Absolutely,
great.
A lesson that Robert Rodriguez should have kept.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we get this next sequence where we get introduced to Salma Hayek's character, Antonio Banderas walks out of the bar disheveled. He's really tired.
Yeah.
And he's just like making his way down the street. One of the gangsters is alive and is coming after him, which, funnily enough, the gangster that is chasing after him is the lead singer of the band Los Lobos,
That's really funny.
who is also in From Dusk Till Dawn, and he's the singer in the band in the bar in that movie. So it's all together, all circle.
It's all connected.
And Danny Trejo is there as well, walking after them.
Hell yeah.
As an assassin.
In his first role, right?
Yeah, his first role in any movie ever. He came out of jail, tried out for this movie, was in it, and then the rest is machete history.
And then he was on a turtle's head in Breaking Bad, and it all just comes full circle.
Yep.
I wanna say he was in Heat first, just because I remember his character in that movie also being named Danny, and I'm like, if that's like,
Ooh,
if the first character you play is also the same name as you, I feel like
that's usually
the
a
math
good
checks out.
indicator.
Yeah. Let me just check real quick.
We need to see who's right and who is shamed.
I'm gonna check real quick, and I'm gonna Mexico Trilogy.
Come on, put me on blast. I'll take it.
Who
No,
gets the criticism?
I could be wrong. 1 second.
And if you are, I lose all respect for you.
I'm gonna try to talk about this scene. So he's walking down the street, and then Salma Hayek crosses the street and causes a car accident. Which,
A perfect character introduction.
Yep.
yeah, just the best character introduction.
That's
really.
honestly really great. Yeah.
It's a funny bit. It's a good bit. And when I was 13, I rewound on this scene a lot. Not gonna lie.
Just the car crash.
Understandable.
I mean, the whole sequence of her walking down the street, and then like after the car crash happens, which it's funnily enough, after the car crash happens, it seems like the guys who crashed the car weren't even that mad because they're just catcalling her like, "Baby, marry me."
That was the woman that's the moment you realized that you could feel that way about girls.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, "Who is that?" 1 second. Danny Trejo's only 5'8.5". Wow.
He's only 5 years old.
Yep, he's only 5. I'm looking for filmography. Hold up. I just want to say, that you've made it as an actor when your filmography has its own Wikipedia page.
Hell yeah.
Which doesn't want to load.
Danny. Hold on.
Danny boy.
I'm just gonna. Danny boy.
What's up?
I'm just gonna Google search Danny Trejo first role.
Okay.
Smart.
And put this horrible heated argument to rest.
Project A.
Whoa.
What? Speaking of Jackie Chan, Bulletproof, Hidden, Lockup. Yeah, I mean, I'm very wrong. He's in a lot of movies before.
Damn, dude.
Desperado.
The Misinformation Podcast.
Yep, I'm fucking lying.
Desperado and Heat were the same year, so I guess we could call it a tie, right?
Yeah.
Surely.
We're both wrong in the same way.
And I've never been wrong on this podcast, so
Not once.
not a single time, and you can trust me on that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's but yeah, no, just even aside from like Salma Hayek looking like Salma Hayek, Salma Hayek.
I'll see you're drooling.
It's a great scene. It's edited really well. As soon as like Antonio Banderas sees her for the first time,
Yeah.
his reaction is also great because in his head, in his eyes, you can see him being like, "God damn."
Movies should just be like two hot people walking towards each other in slow motion. That's all they should be.
Yeah.
Truly.
That's probably about 50% of what movies are, isn't it?
And the song also like hits its peak at that moment too. Like as soon as he sees her, the volume goes up and like it's like a really heavy part of the song.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's just a very just
Pure Kino.
just a really satisfying scene. It's the stuff that movies are made. It's
Yeah.
this 30 seconds of this movie has so much more energy and so much more sauce than anything in Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yeah, I
Like-
would have to agree with that.
But yeah, it's a great scene. But yeah, then yeah, what is it? Antonio Banderas gets knife thrown by Danny Trejo. He gets injured. He kills the Los Lobos guy, and then Salma Hayek takes him away.
Yep. She does the trope of patching up the hero.
Yeah. I just realized we didn't talk about, just real quick. I want to mention it before I forget. In El Mariachi, there's a cool bit with the villain lighting matches on the faces
Yeah.
of his goons.
Yep.
And
then they reference that at the beginning of this movie.
yeah, and it's just a cool little villain bit.
I like. Yeah, I remember. I think when that happened for the first time, I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, that's badass."
And they do it more times, and it's still cool.
It is sick.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't make any sense,
Even though it doesn't make sense, it might not be possible. It's still cool.
it's cool as hell.
You just gotta practice, guys. It's a good idea. Practice on your friends. Practice on yourself.
Exactly.
On your cats, on your dogs,
Light matches against your loved ones' faces or strangers' faces.
your boss, your coworkers.
Indeed, anybody. Yeah, I'm trying to think what happens next. Let's talk a little bit about. It's kind of intercut between a lot of scenes of this movie, but we get flashes to Bucho, the main villain in this movie,
Yeah.
who is also just loves to dress in white.
Yep. And be white.
Yep, and be a very light skinned man. And what's it called? Yeah, I like him as a villain in this movie. I think he's got a solid amount of person. I like how he argues with his lackeys. He like talks shit to his henchmen a lot.
I like how he and Azul talk, where it's like they've known each other for so long. It's like, yeah, I'm just coming to kill you now. I'm not even that mad because like you know me and I know you, so it's just what's gonna happen now.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm talking about in Desperado, not
well,
in
in El Mariachi. That's what I like.
Yeah,
that's a different guy.
Deep, what do you think about the villain of this piece?
I mean, he's good. Like, he's better than the first film, but I guess that's a given. I enjoy that he's got, like... I always enjoy when there's, like, a second command little henchman that, like, serves as a mini-boss before the final confrontation. Get a kick out of that every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's got a good little, like, group of dumb lackeys around who are always scared of him.
Yeah.
I also like the scene... It happens later in the movie, but I like the scene where he starts killing his own men. Of like, look, was that hard? Look, there he is again. And, yeah, no, definitely...
And I like that he has one token girl henchman. That's very feminist. I'm glad to see Robert Rodriguez grew from his previous film.
Oh, yeah.
It's important to have representation.
Yeah, no, she does become badass. And I thought... Here's the thing. I thought in the next movie, more leaking in of Once Upon a Time Mexico, that we were going to get Selma Hayek being a badass. Because she's a badass.
Apparently not.
For like 1 second.
Nope. Yeah.
In a flashback. And then... Not again, but we'll get to that. Trying to think... what else? Yeah, so we're kind of like I mentioned it earlier, but like we're in the library with Selma Hayek and Antonio Banderas, and she's patching them up, and they're flirting, and we're kind of learning more about we're learning more about just kind of Bucho's reach into this town, how like he's kind of got his pockets and everything. Everyone works for him, including the little guitar kid.
Yeah.
He's like transporting drugs in these guitars. And yeah, just I guess the middle of this movie is more just like character stuff of we're kind of just like learning about how much the villains and like how much crime is like how shitty this world is basically is kind of the
this world of Mexico.
Well, the fictional world in this movie, you know. Yeah, I guess if I had to give this movie any kind of negative, I guess I would say the middle kind of drags for me a bit.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, it's a place where we kind of need to slow down. Like we just get like flirting scenes, some more scenes of Bucho. We get a saucy sex scene, where for some reason she like the scene opens. We're not gonna dissect a sex scene on this podcast, but just
why
like
not?
She puts his whole ass chin in her mouth.
She does. She sucks his chin.
His crimson chin. It's weird.
I mean, if it's there.
Yeah.
Like, you're not sucking Antonio Banderas' chin?
That's true.
Yeah, that's Antonio Banderas.
Chin. I do a lot of things. I'd suck a lot of things on it.
He's got like a drawing of him. And he's like circling in red marker all the different areas on his bodies he would suck.
Yeah. I also like how the scene starts with like she wants him to she buys a guitar for him and she wants him to play, but he's like, nah, my hand's fucked up, and she's like, I'll do the chords if you do the strumming.
And then they play for approximately 5 seconds, and then they just start fucking.
Yeah,
I love the way like you see Antonio Banderas like trying to processing like, oh, she's trying to sleep with me.
Oh, the
He's
mood
like,
is
"Oh,
shifting.
right."
I see.
Yeah, like he seems surprised. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he plays that in a really funny way. He's a really funny actor.
Yeah, no, yeah. The more and more I think about it, like a lot of his roles, that is like kind of what is key about him. He does have like a bit. Jackie Chan's an interesting pull for that too, because that is definitely that kind of energy. Like, I feel like it's a hard balance, to find in like, and I don't know if you could call this like, this might be me being just very biased in terms of like the kind of, I don't know, movie stars, actors that like I find myself enthralled in these kind of movies, but like I feel it's a hard balance to be like the suave, sexy, macho man type character, but also kind of like
be like relatable and funny,
and everyman-y and goofy. And I feel like looking at those two, Jackie and Antonio, seem like they have. I feel like the closest, unfortunately, the closest thing I think you could have today is like fucking Chris Pratt. Or I don't know.
Mario himself.
Yes. Of Mario fame.
Garfield himself.
I will say in Chris Pratt's case, like I feel like the goofy roles and like the suave roles tend to be mutually exclusive. I do see what you're getting at, but this is where he fails, where Antonio succeeds.
Yes.
Exactly. It's like, I don't know. It's definitely like a natural, you just got to be born with it type thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's kind of what you were saying as far as like you just got to have that.
You got to have that innate hot guy confidence where you can make fun of yourself and know that no one believes you.
I also think it's one of those things too where it's like I feel like a lot of those are the kind of actors that like I don't necessarily think that they're strong. And so like Antonio Banderas is always just playing himself. Yeah. Right? And like Jackie Chan's always just playing himself. But I guess the difference is like I don't like them as actors. I just enjoy watching them do shit. Yeah. You know, is a different kind of energy. I guess that's the difference between a movie star and an actor, I guess is what you could say.
Have you guys seen any of the stuff Antonio Banderas has done with Pedro Almodovar?
I don't believe so. Honestly, I'm not familiar with a lot of his stuff beyond his like American shit. What movies?
Because like I know Almodovar is like pretty respected as a director, and I want to say that like if I was looking for evidence that he's just also a talented actor, I would look there. But the one movie I can think of that I've seen him in is Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, and that's very much a female-led film. And then he shows up and is kind of just a bimbo the whole time, which is great, super feminist,
that sounds great.
Probably not a good example of his acting chops.
What's the name of the movie again?
Woman on the Verge of a Mental Breakdown.
Oh, I love that title. Yeah, looking through his filmography, I've definitely only seen the American and Goofy. It's for me, it's pretty much Shrek and Spy Kids. And Expendables 3.
He's good in Shrek, like can't lie.
Requiem for a Smash Bros. I'm trying to find. I want to make sure I don't forget it. Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. There it is.
Well, lucky for us, it's recorded forever.
Spanish black comedy thing. Maybe it's on the Criterion channel. Oh, Deep Tea. This is gonna be a separate thing. I recently I signed up for the Criterion channel.
Hell yeah!
And I'm gonna be going through that. I have not been able to watch it on my TV for a while, but I got an Amazon Fire Stick, and now. Oh,
is it on a? Can you get it through Amazon Fire Stick? We're just gonna derail the podcast so I can figure out how to get Criterion channel on my TV.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, the reason. So yeah, no, it's on Fire Stick. So like I have. Yeah, I guess this is a little tangent. I have a smart TV, a Philips smart TV that the smart part of the TV doesn't work. Like I got it used on Marketplace, and like it just whenever you try to use like the onboard like on TV anything, it just doesn't work. Like the menus just freeze up and it breaks. And then I have my PS5, but the PS5 doesn't really have a lot of streaming services available on it. It's just kind of the big ones. Doesn't have Criterion channels now stuff. But wait, so Deep, do you have a smart TV?
I do, but like my smart TV doesn't have a Criterion app. Apparently PS5 is very picky with what streaming apps they don't let on there. So
Yeah.
If I want to watch Criterion Channel on my TV, I have to turn on my PC that's hooked up to my TV, which isn't
Yeah.
that long of a process. But like,
It
then I
is
have
annoying.
to get up
It's
and
enough
walk
to
up to
be
this TV
irritating.
stand, which
Exactly. I'm old and lazy now, so it's like the idea of getting up and hooking up a laptop to my TV. Also, you know what else?
Standing up sucks.
It looks bad.
Sure.
Like the laptop plugged into the TV,
Yeah.
it doesn't look. It's not.
That is true.
That's not its purpose. You know. But you know, Fire Stick. The reason I bought it too, it's on the Black Friday sale now. It's early Black Friday. Black Friday.
Use our code on Amazon for 10% off.
Use the MMG 24 on Amazon to get half off. But no, Fire Sticks are half off at Best Buy right now. I got mine for like $20.
Damn.
The 4K
Oh, shit.
Fire Stick. So,
Just buy one now.
folks at home, if you're listening to this,
Buy.
will this be out before? Will this episode be out before Black Friday?
Consume.
Yes, it will. If you should be this episode is coming out 2 days before Black Friday. So if you're listening to this, go
Purchase.
get your Amazon Fire Stick now.
Bezos.
Yeah, Bezos. Which this reminds me, I want to talk about this now. I want to implement a new segment into the show called Tubi Tuesdays,
Yeah.
where we recommend a title available on Tubi, because
I love that.
because Tubi has a surprisingly insane fucking selection.
I'm sure I'll find something that I've seen.
Yeah,
TV deserves the free shout. I like this.
yeah. I recently applied to a remote job at Tubi, and I haven't heard back from them. I'm gonna hit them up because it seemed really interesting.
Were you looking at the job posting and you were like, to be or not to be?
Couldn't be.
That's
me.
hilarious, dude.
Thank you.
That's
I'm
such
gonna-
a funny joke.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go jump out a fucking window now.
Yeah, but no. But looking at, sorry, folks, we're taking a tangent. Just like look at all of this shit on Tubi. There's just so much.
Wow.
Surprisingly, Django's on there.
Okay, that's mine.
Let's see the Terrifier movies. Look at all these. Oh goddamn it! Look at all these horror films. We got Warm Bodies,
Blair Witch.
Carrie, 47 Meters Down, the original The Craft, the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, The Mist. Like honestly,
Yeah.
it's a fucking solid. The Mist is my.
Honestly, yeah, a lot of the movies that we've already covered are on here.
I told you this is basically the Tubi podcast.
Yeah.
So back to the movie.
Movie? What movie?
Deep D still there?
I am still here, even though he took that Tubi tangent.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
It took a couple tangents.
To be or not to be?
Thank
That's
you.
but yeah, deep. But
Thank
yeah,
you
deep.
for bringing that up again.
But yeah, deep. You get a Fire Stick. Watch Criterion. Fucking. Sorry, one more last thing. Courtney. It was our anniversary recently, and Courtney got me Thelma and Louise, the Criterion Blu-ray, and on 4K. I'm excited to watch it.
Hell yeah.
1 second. Desperado. I forget what scene we were at, but basically, yeah, middle of the movie, they're fucking.
Yep.
And then we get a cool action sequence on the roof, like a little chase thing where they're being chased out of the library,
Yeah.
by the gangsters, and there's a backward shooting jump across the rooftops. That's really fun. And in
Max
this
Payne.
Max Payne. Oh, and then we get a little bit of thing of like you were saying, we think that Robert Rodriguez also has a foot fetish.
Yeah,
Like Quentin-
I really do think that. There's a lot of focus on feet in this movie.
Yeah. And in the first movie too.
Yeah.
There's the opening shot of
I don't think he catches nearly enough heat for that.
No. Well, Tarantino's a lot more obvious about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like. But yeah, no. Salma Hayek has a cool look with like she's got one red shoe, one black shoe.
For the rest of the movie.
For the rest of the movie, it's for the costumes. But DP still there?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I keep disconnecting, or is it?
I think you might have disconnected before, but I think we're back. We're good. But yeah, so what was I gonna say? Yeah, there's a cool action sequence on a roof. We get right when Antonio Banderas has a chance to kill Bucho, he sees him. He shows up at the library. They're at a rooftop across. Antonio Banderas sees him and
doesn't shoot.
doesn't shoot him.
What?
And we don't find out why right now. And Salma Hayek's like, "What are you doing? You have the perfect shot." But Antonio Banderas is like, "No, there's still things in the plot left to be revealed."
I still need to have a twist later.
Yeah. But no, then we get Sam Hayek convinces Antonio Banderas to call in his boys, the other mariachis, which when I was younger and I knew that this was a sequel to El Mariachi, I figured they're like, oh, these guys must be from the other movie.
Nope.
And they're not.
They're here to have a cool gun and then die.
Yeah. The both of them, one of them, these two mariachis, one of them has a rocket launcher guitar case, and the other one has two machine gun
guitar cases,
large machine gun guitar cases.
and this is
One of them.
yeah. Go ahead.
What's up
No, one of them just does a fun little thing with his leg that I would love to point out.
with his leg?
Yeah, he does that little like half split thing with his rocket launcher.
Oh yeah, oh
He
yeah, he
does.
does when he launches it. Yeah, he gets down on the ground, gets in
Yeah.
a stance.
Yeah.
And then like not to be outdone, Antonio Banderas does that little like twist when he lands on the car hood and is like double shooting his pistols.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he does. He does with his like legs out and shit. Yeah. No, there's a lot of my brain acrobatics going on.
Yeah, this is like, to me, this is like the essence of Robert Rodriguez. Like, I had an idea of something that would be cool. I'm gonna put it in the movie.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, it was. I remember you saying when we were watching it that it jumped the shark a little bit for you.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, it's cool and all,
Yeah,
but just a little bit.
it's towards the end of the movie, and like you already like we're already bought into the story and
Yeah.
everything, so it's like you can have a little fun there.
Yeah.
But yeah, then his mariachi boys get killed off pretty instantly.
As if they're not even characters.
Yeah. And then the little guitar boy gets shot in the middle of all the
Oh
crossfire.
God, I'm sure he's dead.
And it's real sad. And it's another reason to show you that Bucho here is a fucking monster.
Yep.
But yeah, so then Antonio and Salma roll up to Bucho's compound,
Yep.
and it gets revealed, spoiler alert, that Antonio Banderas and Bucho are brothers.
He is my brother.
Yeah,
Ah.
in the very soap opera fashion. How do we feel about this twist, this reveal overall? Is it cheap? Is it not needed? Is it how do we feel about it?
I mean, because as much as I like Antonio, or I guess the Desperado being portrayed as a more vulnerable character, I feel like all of the writing that sort of points towards him being like a tortured soul and like, oh, you don't have to go on this quest to revenge and like it's not worth it. Like I feel like all the writing in that direction is very weak.
Yeah.
It's well performed, but
Yeah. It's
I feel like Robert Rodriguez is not a very deep filmmaker. Which is okay.
No. Yeah, I know. I think that's I think that might be my like biggest problem with him. It's almost like, because I used to also be like super big into Tarantino, and I remember my film mentor was like, "Yeah, I like him, but like I just don't think he has like anything really to say." And I was like, "What are you talking about? He's what he has to say is aren't movies fun?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's not what I mean." And I think my problem with Robert Rodriguez is I don't think he is. I don't like his movies as much as I like Tarantino's movies, and I think he has the same problem where he really isn't saying anything. Like he just thinks this stuff is cool, and he just likes making movies, which is like has a value in its own, but like only goes so far for me.
It's like it is kind of crazy that like I guess Rodriguez and Tarantino's are like best buds and sort of like came into the industry at the same time, because like Rodriguez does seem like a guy that like the kind of director that saw Tarantino's films and was like, oh, these are very cool, and like didn't look at them beyond a surface level.
Absolutely.
I think about this is making me think about something that I've talked a lot about with some of my musician friends, as far as like this is a comparison I'm making here. There's a difference between being a musician and then being a musical artist. As far as like you can be technically proficient in like an art craft, like you can be a proficient filmmaker, but you're not. But like you were saying, like, are you really an artist in terms of like, are you just making stuff to make stuff?
Yeah.
Or are you actually trying? And I think it's. I feel like I'm not explaining myself well. I feel like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez seem like guys who are just such huge fans of movies.
Yeah, just the concept of filmmaking they love.
Yeah, the concept of filmmaking, and like I feel like they're good at it on a technical level, both of them.
Yeah.
And they have in the past had things. I think when it comes down to it, I feel like the marriage you have to make is like, because movies are such a collaborative process and because you can pull from so many things, I think these guys might work better in both of them like might work better when they are taking somebody else's work or adapting someone else's work, or like working with collaborators who might have more
Yeah.
Working with people that can write.
Yeah.
people that can write. People might have more depth to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Like, yeah, I think it works for Tarantino because he's just so good at dialogue. But Rodriguez, it just feels, I don't know. It just feels like it's paper deep. Like, it's fun to watch, but it's like candy. It's like fast food almost.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then this movie has like a double fake out ending, like you were saying, where like it seems like the Desperado, like the Mariachi Desperado, he's like he kisses Salma Hayek in the hospital hallway. Oh, the kid's alive. The kid doesn't die.
Yeah.
When they do that fade to white, like between the final shootout and then going to the hospital, like I've seen this movie twice before, and for some reason I thought that was gonna be a flashback and not like a flash forward. I don't know if you guys had the same assumption, but
I do think it's kind of abrupt.
Yeah.
I would have liked to think like, well,
let's wrap this up.
well, yeah, I think it was a thing where it was like, we don't have the money for an extra shootout. It did feel really weird because after he shot his brother, you'd think that there would be like some reaction with the goons all standing there, but I don't know. It did feel so. If I could complain about anything with the movie, I do think the ending leaves me a little lukewarm in that way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that for me personally, the ending of El Mariachi, although sad, definitely felt stronger and felt like I got more closure. Whereas, like, this movie felt like it didn't want to commit to something kind of more solid. Like, there was the first fake out ending with he kisses Selma and walks away, and then while he's walking down the street, like, she rolls up, picks him up, and he throws the guitar away.
Yeah.
And then he goes back for the guitar case.
And I was like, this is pissing me off.
Like, when's it going to end?
Yeah. It's like, why is he like making a strong statement and then walking it back immediately? Like, nah, I couldn't actually do that. And then he does it again immediately after that with the guitar case. And it's like, then why even, like, why are you doing what? Like, you're making a big statement with he's throwing away the guitar case. And then he just goes back and gets it again. Like, nah, but not really though. And it's like, what are you actually trying to say then? Like, is he giving it up or not? Is he just not, and he just hasn't changed, he hasn't grown? I don't know. It feels like
we gotta leave room for a sequel, baby. That's
exactly. That's what was frustrating. Is like, I want to show that he's changed, but I also can't commit to that. And it's like, please just pick a lane. Yeah. Because doing both means nothing.
It's a bit of a weird ending. It feels a bit. I don't know. I think this is one of those things where you could say it's about the destination, not the journey. For me personally, it's like, I don't know, the movie leading up to the ending was just so fun.
Yeah, it's a super fun movie.
I like the characters so much that I'm like you know, I like the things end up happening where they end up together, they end up riding off into the sunset, and it was a good way to leave room for a sequel. If only the sequel lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, the conclusion with the characters themselves, I did like that. You know, they're good leads. They're probably like the best part of the movie, just in terms of their chemistry. So it's just nice to see that, you know, come together. I
was excited to see him and Selma come back for the next one because she's on the cover of the box on the next one. So I'm like, they're gonna.
She's in the movie technically.
Kind of.
Someone should have sued them for false advertising. I'm so serious. You know, like how they sued those Ana de Armas fans sued the makers of Yesterday. We should have done that for Once Upon a Time in Mexico. We failed Salma Hayek as a nation.
Exactly. We have to call up Robert Rodriguez now and be like, how dare you?
We all owe her an apology.
Yeah. But yeah, so this next movie, Once Upon a Time, I have to keep stopping myself from saying Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. It's so funny that those two are friends.
Yeah, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the third film in the Mexico trilogy. It is like...
So I want to say, usually when I come over and I watch a movie with LC, I bring donuts for everybody, and I bring myself a Red Bull, so I'm like energized to watch the movie and talk about it afterward. I did not have a chance to grab a Red Bull today, and I was also kind of had a long day at work, and I think this movie is just so much not my bag that I just fucking hated every aspect of this movie today. I gotta say, I'm probably being a little too harsh on it today, but that's a preface.
You're just really not in the mood for it.
This is not my kind of movie today.
Before we get into the movie itself, which Deepti, I want to hear your baseline thoughts first. After this, something interesting that I want to lay out the groundwork for now, and we're not going to go through this movie scene by scene at all. One, because I don't think I could. Two, because I don't think it needs to. The first movie, the El Mariachi, was shot on 16mm film. Desperado was shot on 35mm film, which is like kind of the most standard, like most movies of kind of like the pre-digital era were shot on 35mm for the most part. And then this movie was shot completely on digital. And something interesting, I was looking up stuff about the movie as we were watching it, because this is the movie I knew the least about of the three going into this whole experience. This was the first major motion picture, like Hollywood movie, to be filmed fully digitally, to be released. And I was looking it up, and pretty much the reason why this movie was made was Robert Rodriguez was visiting the set of Attack of the Clones with George Lucas, and they filmed most of that movie on digital, like 99% of it.
And that movie's aged really well.
Yeah. And Robert Rodriguez was impressed by the quality of like how the movie was looking in the dailies that he saw at George Lucas, which I feel like all he would see is fucking blue screens. Hayden Christensen.
Wow, looks great.
Rolling up. So he wanted to shoot Spy Kids 2 on digital, but he was too far into the filming of it, so he's like, I'll just make this movie and shoot it all digital. And for me personally, and we'll talk about it as we go in, the look of this movie is definitely it looks like candy. It looks plastic. It looks
like a TV movie.
It looks like it looks really harsh. And that's immediately something like this movie has a lot of problems, but that's kind of like the one for me that feels the most offensive. Like the first two movies just have this wonderful film look that just like feel like, and I hate to not get more descriptive in this, but they just feel like a movie, you know? And there's
so many shots in this movie that just look like a student film.
It just really doesn't work for me. But yeah, Deepti, what are your general thoughts on Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
So, like, I presumed that I would like this less than I did. I'm not about to defend it, just to be clear. I'm not about to ride for this movie.
I mean, no, you can. If you really liked it, that's all good.
I've already.
I did not like it that much. You can't put words in my mouth. I'll get a lawyer.
If you love this movie, it's fine.
If it's your favorite.
If this is your favorite of the three movies, you can tell us.
This can't be happening.
It's really the Spy Kids 2 Isle of Lost Dreams of the Mexico trilogy.
That's okay. That is disrespectful to Isle of Lost Dreams. You gotta take that back, man. No, but like because I didn't get around to it when I watched the first two movies. I assumed like, oh, I must have like read something about this movie that like made me think it wasn't worth my time. And then when I got around to it, and like I will say, I did pair my viewing with a beer because that just seemed spiritually correct. So that probably helped my.
We were also drinking.
Yeah, a little bit.
It either like improves a movie or like drastically ruins it. It's one or the other.
That might have been the case.
It depends on the movie. Yeah. It helped me get through it.
It's a party or a public execution.
Yeah, I was very frustrated watching this, especially after the last two. I don't know. It feels so... Because I know you said Robert Rodriguez wrote this in 7 days.
6 days.
Yeah, it shows.
That explains so much.
It shows so strongly. There are so many... So we've gone from folk hero origin story to folk hero adventure to... political thriller where folk hero is like one of 30 fucking main characters. Like, what is like? I understand. Like, if he wanted to make like a political thriller, more power to him. But like, why is he like marketing it as the third of a trilogy?
I can see what he's trying to go for, because like he mentions, or it gets mentioned that like he's trying to do like a Sergio Leone thing, like, oh, this is my good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think like a lot of Leone's epics have this like intertwining of like, oh, like grand, like overarching like political dramatic plot, and then like individual like character driven plots. And like, I mean, Leone makes it work sometimes. I don't think Rodriguez has. I don't think Rodriguez is Sergio Leone, to be
No.
honest.
Yeah, he doesn't have this type of filmmaking chops for sure.
No.
Yeah, I will say that this movie started as if it was at least going to be like entertaining. I mean, it starts kind of like with a scene that is trying to, I think, kind of ape the Steve Buscemi intro in the last one.
Yes.
Where we get Johnny Depp, who at first we thought was
Thought
Johnny.
he was in brown face.
We thought it was Johnny Depp in brown, which there is some brown face in this movie later on.
Make no mistake.
Yeah, fans of brown face, don't worry,
Yeah,
you're in for a treat.
exactly. This was Tropic Thunder before Tropic Thunder.
If you thought there was no brown face in this,
Oh boy. Yeah, and Johnny Depp is talking to Cheech Marin, who I believe is insinuated to be the bartender from the last movie, because he lost the eye, and I'm pretty sure he got shot in the eye in the last movie. And he's talking about Antonio Banderas. He's talking about the Mariachi, and we get a flashback sequence that is, I guess, supposed to be similar in style to the one in Desperado.
But it sucks so much worse.
It's not as good. It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's a little snapshot of the way that the action is filmed in this movie, in which like,
oh my god, this is the first like digital like big feature film, right? And it feels like he doesn't know how to light for digital. He doesn't really like it. The movie is first off, it's way uglier than the last two. Like even like the first one. Maybe I'm being too. It's definitely uglier than Desperado. Secondly, the action, it's just it feels like before everyone kind of caught on to how horrible that like cut every like third of a second action, like that gif of Liam Neeson jumping over the fence with like 15 different cuts. This is that. But like I guess we can give it like a little credit because like, you know, he's trying something new. So he's like, well, we're shooting on digital. We don't have to worry about film, so we can get as much coverage as we want. We can just cut between a million different angles. And it's just, it makes me sick to watch.
The way the action in this movie is edited, really, I think the problem with it is that it doesn't really give any sense of motion or sense of direction.
Everything feels weightless and like there's no impact to anything.
Yeah. When the guns are fired in this movie, like the sound design of the gun is bad, but like also like characters will fly like 30 feet off of like one little gun shot.
Yeah, it's super like it's like the exact opposite of the kind of action I like. I think that's why I found it so frustrating.
Yeah. Deep D, what do you think of the action in this movie in particular and how it's filmed?
One of those cases where I like it, but I really can't say it's good. Like, I don't know. I really like all those like kind of loud, like completely like, I guess physically impossible like action scenes. Like those wrap around into like very entertaining for me. But like, I don't think this is on par with like, I mean, what we have in Desperado or like any, you know, better directed action films. The thing about the editing, how it's like so like insane and choppy, is like it's not to be patronizing, but it's almost like a kid being a kid being set loose in a candy store, because like you look at what he was doing for El Mariachi, and he's like very much like working with bare minimum stuff, and he's doing a very good editing job on that. And then he gets more resources, and he takes away like the exact wrong lesson. Like, no, you're not supposed to, more cuts doesn't make like more good, you know?
Yeah. Can we talk about the mental breakdown I had when we came in here and we talked about the budgets of these movies?
Yeah.
First one is $7,000. Desperado is $7 million. This movie is $29 million. And it's the worst looking of the three. It's so baffling to me. This is what I mean when I say I like Robert Rodriguez with restriction.
Yeah. It seems to me like talking about just the editing there and the first movie, the jumpiness of the editing in that movie, even when we're jumping between a lot of cuts, we're still following the same actions.
Yeah.
Like even looking at that scene, like at the one of the famous scene El Mariachi when like he throws his guitar onto like the next step and he jumps up and he's running down the hallway.
Yeah.
Every cut in that scene where we're kind of changing the distance that we are from the action, from the characters, it as a byproduct of like how they film that, it gives this sense that like we're putting emphasis on certain actions and like there's emotion to the way that the movie is being cut together in a way that like you can follow.
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, all of the cuts feel like really random. Like we will like someone will shoot at somebody and then we'll see like the reaction shot of them being shot, and then we'll see a bunch of other reaction shots of people being shot.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to like our, you know, the mariachi shooting somewhere else or jumping off somewhere, and there's no continuity to the action really. Like it's really hard to follow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's weird because I think a lot of my criticisms, not all of them, but a lot of them are just from like a technical aspect, and that might not be fair because digital was so new, but it feels so cheap, not just like visually, but audio wise. Like the sound design in this movie, like I don't know, I was just frustrated the whole time.
Yeah.
It's dubbed really poorly. It almost feels like
The
like
dubbing is way too obvious for a movie of this budget.
Yeah.
Exactly, $29 million. That's
Yeah.
what. That's why it's like, is this like made? Was this made for like really cheap? Like, is he making a point to say like, this is what I can do with like no money again? But no.
Yeah.
And and then you know the sound, all these like stock sound effects, and the score. I think I was complaining about literally the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because you said that he did the score himself, right?
Yeah, he did the score himself. He also did it. It was
It's
reminding
just omnipresent. It never shuts up.
It reminded me a lot of the Spy Kids scores, like kind of like with the big horns and the big, which makes more sense for Spy Kids because Spy Kids is like a more of a grandiose adventure, and it's more.
Yeah.
It's like an elevated, goofy kind
Yeah.
of thing, but it doesn't work for this.
This is like every single scene, every single action, and every scene is scored with this like faux orchestra done on a keyboard. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just everything about mid 2000s action movies that I hate is here, and it's like I don't know. It's strangely triggering to me.
Can we talk about Johnny Depp
Yeah.
and what the fuck he's doing?
What is
and
going on with that character?
What's he trying to do? Like what kind of personality is he playing? What is Willy Wonka doing in this movie?
He's doing like.
I like his third arm.
It's weird because he's both just like doing nothing, but also just like a little too obnoxious.
Yeah, he's doing like evil Dale Cooper a little bit.
Fuck, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I think I just locked in on what it is. He's like Dale Cooper, but he'll straight up kill a guy for making pork for some reason.
Yeah, he kills like the waitress in the restaurant for like no reason.
Yeah, with a fake arm.
Supposed to be a CIA agent. He's almost like we get more of him than we do the mariachi in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of huge star power in this movie that goes completely underutilized.
Yeah.
There's Mickey Rourke is in this movie. He does nothing.
He carries
Willem
a little
Dafoe is in
chihuahua.
this movie. He does nothing. Salma Hayek is there to die in a flashback.
Yeah.
Selma Hayek, they really pull the rug out for you on that one because like in the first flashback she shows up and they're like, oh, and she was a badass action hero
yeah.
too.
And I was
then-
excited.
Wouldn't that have been cool to see? Fuck you.
I was excited, like, oh, she's gonna kick some ass in this movie.
Nope.
And then no, she dies along with their cute daughter, which I thought that was an interesting reveal. That's the thing. The mariachi in this movie, there are elements of what goes on with him that could have been like an interesting story and could have been like a worthwhile revenge tale.
Mm-hmm.
Like because I mean his why he's pissed makes sense as far as like, you know,
But here's the
it's
problem.
really sad.
We already did that twice.
That's
we
true.
did that once at least.
Yeah.
He already learned that revenge is not the answer, so it's like, what do we do with this character now? I
feel
think
like-
the answer is probably nothing.
I feel like with a lot of these movies where you have like a character has like a traumatic backstory and it's told in like a long drawn out flashback or like it's only revealed at the very end, that like when you reveal it, it's got to be something like insanely cruel, like The Quick and the Dead. Like when you
Yeah.
find out what actually happened to Sharon Stone's dad, you're like, oh, I understand why she's traumatized now.
Yeah.
But like in this movie, it's just like, I mean, they got shot by the guy he's trying to kill. That's like all.
Yeah, that
I
happened
mean, I
in the
could have
last
figured
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very it's a frustrating movie. It's like hitting all my pressure points for not liking a movie, I think.
Yeah. It's really yeah. There's a lot of characters that we follow in here that end up like dying in weird ways, so that plot lines just going like Willem Dafoe's character. I still don't know why he did the face-off thing.
He was hiding from the feds, right? And he was gonna have plastic surgery.
Hey, it's the guy in the bandages
to change his face, but it was a double cross. And then I don't know, man.
He also had that dude that looked just like him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Deep.
It would have been so funny if like when they did like the facial reconstruction surgery, like we did see the final results and it was just like white Willem Dafoe. Like,
a reverse Tropic Thunder, if you will.
It's Nicolas Cage.
You know, I'm something of a Mexican myself. Fucking, it's
Yeah.
Nicholas. Actually, yeah, no. If he got facial reconstruction surgery and it was Mexican Nicolas Cage,
God.
It's Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder.
oh, that'd be so good. But yeah, no, just like weird things. I imagine that the reason they did that was because maybe Willem Dafoe wasn't available for when they needed to film those scenes. I don't know. There's a lot of Eva Mendes is wasted in this movie too.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
She doesn't. Everybody everybody gets like 5 minutes of screen time. There's a million characters that are all like crucial to like the big clockwork of the story, and to the point where you just don't care about any of these people because they're all just the same in my mind.
I almost like not to put too much hate on Desperado, but like I like the ensemble cast in Desperado a lot, but I feel like for all the characters I'm excited to see, they don't get enough screen time, and I feel like that is a premonition for how poorly the character arcs are handled in this film.
Yeah. Characters show up and then you just don't see them again for like 30 minutes, and then you're like, I haven't seen this guy in a while, and then we just cut back to him.
Robert Rodriguez isn't really an ensemble kind of guy. You know, I feel a similar way in terms of what's it called?
I like Sin City.
We're gonna bring in talking about from we haven't talked about a lot of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Deep, you've seen From Dusk Till Dawn, right?
I have not. I know the
Whoa.
big twist, so don't worry about talking about that.
No.
Okay. Well, no, I don't want to talk about it because I think it's worth. I think you should check it out. I think it's very much worth watching.
It's great.
Where would you rank it relative to the Mexico trilogy, would you say?
Oh,
I think Dusk Till Dawn I prefer to all these.
to all these.
Yeah, but that's just me.
I definitely prefer Desperado to From Dusk Till Dawn. I will say this: I've seen the movie once, and I watched it over 2 days. I fell asleep halfway through, not because of the movie, because I was tired from work and I was real cozy.
Fell asleep right when they got to the bar.
Yeah.
You wake up and you're like, what the hell?
I bought I recently I was at a secondhand video store today, and I bought the collector's edition Dimension 2-disc special edition DVD.
The DVD.
By the way, I saw I'm gonna be real more respectful. I saw a YouTube video essay about physical media last week that really made me appreciate just like DVDs more, and how like there are so many just like out there in the thrift world like special edition DVDs that comes with like 2 or 3 discs of bonus features of shit and like 8 commentary tracks that like.
Too bad it's ugly.
I mean, yeah, it looks bad, but there's just so much love put into those, and like I also think that DVD covers oftentimes look way cooler than Blu-ray covers. It's really,
probably.
I feel like the art was like more interesting and like the layout.
You got more real estate on there.
More real estate. Sorry, go ahead, DT.
No, I was just gonna say I did watch Desperado off a DVD that I thrifted, and that just felt spiritually correct to do.
Yeah.
That seems right.
There are certain movies. I say this as I'm staring at my DT. I don't know if I've told you, but I've gotten into I picked up a little CRT TV and a VCR from Goodwill a few months ago, and I've gotten into collecting VHS tapes. And it's sometimes it's a we watched the original The Terminator on VHS, and it was a fucking trip.
That's the way to watch that movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about you buying that. I've been like, because I mean, I've got like my 4K TV, but I'm like, low key, if I just invested in a CRT, I feel like that would look a lot better for my DVDs.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say just
It
wait.
would make DVDs look better. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say you don't have to invest in. You can get my little one I got for $10, and the VCR was $5. So I also got really lucky because I was looking on Marketplace beforehand, and yeah, they get more expensive. But yeah, physical media forever, folks.
That's how interesting this movie is.
Yeah, that's how interesting this movie is. We're talking about the videos. I actually got I don't know if you've seen. There's a creator I follow called Death by VHS, who does like modern VHS. Like basically, he does like modern covers and modern VHS releases of new movies.
Yeah.
On VHS. Like I'm looking at, I got It Follows on VHS recently, and it's a really cool. And I actually watched that on there, and it fits really well.
It's a cool VHS.
Yeah, and it's a good cover. Also, did I tell you? Sorry, and I need to keep tangenting on.
Tangent City.
I forget if I told you about this. So, Deep D, I don't know if you've heard about this. Alien Romulus. They announced that they are doing that 20th Century Studios, no longer Fox. They're doing an official VHS release of Alien Romulus.
Yep.
That's dope.
Like a limited edition version of it. And Walmart they did. Well, it hasn't come out. It comes out, technically they come out on December 3rd, but Walmart is the seller, is the distributor, and they released the pre-orders for them, and all the fucking pre-orders got sold already. And
that's crazy.
All these resellers, the cheapest I can find
scalpers.
The eBay is full of fucking resellers selling these tapes for like $100 at the cheapest.
Scum of the earth.
And it pisses me off. And there's another custom like tape, like a DIY tape maker I follow, who's doing their own release, and it even looks cooler. But I'm mad because I wanted that real one.
Yep.
I'm gonna get the 4K though.
Gotta spend $400 on it, I guess.
What if we get like a massive influx of like how vinyl has had a big resurgence? We'll just get a massive influx of like specifically VHS heads.
I don't know, dude.
That could be happening.
I mean, there's
rumblings.
The market is experiencing growth. That's for sure. I don't know if it'll because here's the thing that's difficult about it. When you look at vinyl, something about vinyl that is a big part of a selling point of it, and why it is the vinyl is still like the top of the physical market sales of music right now, is because if you have the right equipment and you treat your vinyl right, vinyl has the ability to be the highest fidelity way to listen to music. If you have the right stuff, you have the right gear, you have the right everything, it can be. If you have the right gear for if you have the I don't know, the best HD CRT TV and like the highest quality, like high res, like whatever VCR, it is still not going to technically look as good as like a 4K Blu-ray, like not even close, or even a DVD for that matter. So that's part of why it is like vinyl is still a high fidelity format, but VHS it's more
lo-fi.
It's more comparing to cassettes, and cassettes are experiencing a little bit of a boom right now.
That's true.
And I think it's similar to cassettes in that like it is a cheaper, more personable medium. It's a more analog, like it's a more comfortable, cozy medium.
Man, this hipster ass podcast.
Yeah, you've been a part of it, bro.
I know. I'm a contributor.
Yeah,
The call is coming from inside the house.
I know. No, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that the more of the vinyl thing we're seeing in movie physical media is just boutique labels doing really well. Yeah, like Criterion's doing great. Have you seen the Criterion mobile closet thing?
Oh yeah.
Or Joseph, do you know about the Criterion Closet videos?
No,
I haven't showed you any of them. You might find them interesting, but basically they get filmmakers to come. It's these YouTube videos on YouTube where they get filmmakers or artists or like people from the film community to come into basically a stockroom closet of all the Criterion Blu-rays, and they get to pick out and talk about the movies they like and stuff. And it's something that like Criterion invites celebrities to do it. But they've recently started doing this Criterion mobile closet where they got a truck that is set up like the closet they have in their studio, and they drive it around to different film festivals. And fans, the real people, the real fucking...
the real ones.
The Barnes & Noble Blu-ray hunters get to roll up to the Criterion closet, make their own little video like, hey guys, I'm in the Criterion closet, and do the thing. And it's really cute.
That's
and
great.
I really want to do it. You get to buy 3 movies, and you get a little tote bag, a little free Criterion tote bag.
We need to start like a GoFundMe to get you on that.
I mean, I don't need a GoFundMe. I've been watching the social media.
Where is it?
Well, they've only been in 2. They've only been at 2 film festivals so far. It started like late October.
Damn.
So we're still
We'll just make our own, man.
We're still waiting for more dates. I mean, I have enough Criterions.
Yeah, exactly.
We
We can at least make like a background out of it.
yeah, or we could just go to a Barnes and Noble and
Exactly.
just do it quietly.
I
What are we
remember seeing
talking
a video
about?
of
What's
I
up?
remember seeing a video of a guy on Twitter that was like doing a Criterion Closet video, but he was just like in a Walmart and he was picking up shit like Truth or Dare, which like,
That's amazing.
That's actually really good.
I love
it
that.
feels on par for this podcast.
Yeah.
There's a couple of good like a lot of people have done parody videos of the Criterion Closet vids. Like I actually saw this one on TikTok the other day. The guy was like, I have not seen a single fucking movie in here. He's like, do you guys have Transformers: Dark of the Moon? do you have Speed starring Keanu Reeves?
God, I wish that were me.
Yeah, but you would be really funny to watch it there. Like, what the fuck is the color filter? Anyway, sorry. This movie.
Sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
In summary.
In Mexico. Once upon a time in Mexico. I'm trying to think. I want to at least. Okay, what have we not talked about with this movie? Brown face Willem Dafoe. It sucks. He
I don't know.
face off line.
Enrique Iglesias is in this movie.
He is.
He's there.
A lot of people are there.
There's a lot of the cast is stacked. Honestly,
A lot of people talking about the plot to each other.
Eva Mendes gets wasted as well. She's like a bad guy at the end.
People are on film and talking. We have shots, and then we reverse that shot to show the other person.
I think the thing that I think the thing that is the biggest negative about this movie, and like really is going to be my final thoughts on like why it suffers, is that this franchise thus far, like the first 2 movies, are about the character of the mariachi. Like it's his story, it's his revenge story, it's his tragedy.
Ain't that.
And it just isn't that. He's pretty much a side character in this film.
Yeah.
Like he's not the focus. Like he's just one piece. And I feel like
And the new stuff we do get just is not interesting.
it's not interesting, and it also just doesn't make sense for the arc of this character.
No.
And like Antonio doesn't even get a chance. He's not. Talking about. He's not even really goofy in this movie at all. He's not. He's just brooding the whole time.
Yep.
He's kind of this badass legend.
It feels almost like when, like that phenomenon where like a movie gets made and then it gets bought by like a franchise, and then they shoehorn a character into just being the new main character of that script. Now, it feels like he was like, oh, this movie was very successful, and I just want to make this like intricate story. I think more people will watch it if I put Antonio Banderas as the Desperado in it. And that's literally like that's how it feels. It might not be the case, but that's how it feels, because like the soul of Desperado is just not in this movie at all.
Yeah, that's really what it lacks in general. I think it lacks heart, it lacks soul.
Yeah,
it lacks the energy and love that I think the first 2 movies really had.
Calling this a trilogy feels really weird to me.
Deep T, final thoughts on the on Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
So the nicest thing I have to say about this movie, and honestly this is a big point in its favor, is that I really like all the little outfits. That's my
wardrobe
review.
is good.
The fits are good.
Great wardrobe.
And also, I do think the production design is solid, the set design is solid, but it's just it's shot. I think it's just shot poorly. I think it's shot
to the end, dude.
I think it's shot and lit poorly.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, it just feels like they didn't know what they were doing with digital, and they were. It just like everything. The whole time I was watching it, like, oh, I guess they were just cutting costs. They were cutting costs. But how is this movie
The most expensive.
over 3 times as expensive as the last one? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it just adds to my frustration, like
Yeah.
everything else in my life.
Real sad.
Man, this movie really broke you.
It did.
Yeah, props. Let's do props.
Can I have one prop for all 3 movies?
Yeah, you can have one prop for all 3 movies. You can pick 1 to 3 props
Okay.
from all movies is going to be the assignment. Joseph, I feel like you have your prop already.
I just want I want that cat with the really long neck from El Mariachi.
Okay.
The glass cat. I know there's a lot of really cool stuff in these movies, but I just feel like if I just had that cat with a really long neck, I'd put it like on my bar or on my shelf, and you just walk in, I'd see it, and I'd be like, oh yeah, El Mariachi.
It's a good pick.
It ties the room together.
It does.
So I will give an honorable mention to Antonio Banderas' hair, specifically in Desperado, because I feel like they straightened it in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and
They
I'm not
did.
about that.
They greased it up.
That's true. He's got the flow in the second one for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a 5-way tie between like several different articles of clothing, but my final answer is the little chihuahua from Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Oh.
The prop chihuahua.
Yes, Mickey Rourke's Chihuahua. Who? What was
He
he
has a
doing?
lot of presence.
He's wearing a wire.
That's true. That dog had more presence than a lot of actors in that movie.
Very memorable.
Yeah, I want the little what's it called? The little mace ball and chain thing from the first movie,
Oh yeah.
which was in several rooms. I don't know why. And then let's see. Oh, I had a better one for Desperado, but I can't remember anymore. The fucking oh, actually, you know what I want? I want like a small a shrunk down version of the neon sign from the opening of Desperado.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The customer is always wrong. And then in the third from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
He said
Yeah.
it. We
I
got
said it.
him.
I got it. I got me one. Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I want the RC, the remote control guitar case
Yeah.
car from the end with the bomb on it
Wow.
that he drives.
I completely
See,
forgot about that.
I would guess you were gonna say that like nice black guitar with like the flower details he plays for the president.
He did say he
But-
wanted that while we were watching
I
it,
did,
but
yeah.
he changed his mind.
I did change my mind. I want the.
No, the
There are
remote
lots.
control guitar case is like more practical. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's way more practical.
or the flame throwing guitar case. Honestly,
Oh
the,
yeah.
the flame throwing guitar case got me. I was like, that was honestly the one moment in this movie where I was like, sick.
You remember when they brought the 2 mariachi guys who had the weapon guitar cases? No, not in that movie. The one after it, where it was a little bit worse. So they just did it again.
I feel like whenever we do the prop thing, I'm so tempted to just like pick a cool thing. Like I want his sunglasses or whatever. But then like thinking about it, like, well, if I had that
Johnny
thing,
Depp's old lady sunglasses.
yeah. But the more I think about it, like if I had that thing, then which actually no, I changed my answer. I want his weed belt buckle.
That
Johnny Depp's weed belt buckle
That felt out of place on that outfit.
on that character.
Yeah.
the fact that he had that belt and he put on a second belt is like, sure, you know.
He really was just Dale Cooper, except instead of coffee, it was pork.
Damn
Yeah.
fine plate of pork.
Just such a fucking weirdo.
Yep.
But yeah, folks, that has been Midnight Movie Gang. Thank you so much for listening. Joseph Deepty, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
It's been great having this show. It's growing steadily. Hopefully more folks share it with your friends. You can listen to us, Midnight Movie Gang, on Spotify. Check us on YouTube as well. Mainly check us out on YouTube. We also put our short animated reviews up there, along with you can check out right now. We're putting up some highlight videos from our movie commentaries. We have about a 10-minute highlight video of our movie commentary of Alien vs. Predator Requiem,
Yep.
which is a lot of fun. You can get some yokes and watch along with us on that. If you want to access the full commentaries, you can check out the Patreon at Midnight Movie Gang. Follow us on social media. Same thing at Midnight Movie Gang, all the stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Have a nice night. Bye.
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 So, here we go. It was filled with childish frustrations and complexes which murder. I want to crash everybody, and I'm here to hold on. Oh, please tell me where they're going. Please tell me. Sorry, I don't know. How hopeless have I got in here? 3 tickets to Albany on 6 o'clock train tonight. What do you think?